Before I start today, I would like to remind listeners that you can join my email list at ownyour5to9.com to receive a transcript of each podcast and additional resources, links, and tools referenced in each episode. Also, today's subject is a continuation of a mini-series on mental health, and this episode is for informational purposes only. If you are overwhelmed or overcome with your mental health, I encourage you to reach out to a counselor, friend, or licensed professional for additional support. Meanwhile, I hope today's episode will inspire you and challenge you in your thinking. You are listening to the Work-Life Eubiosis podcast with your host, Charleston Edwards. If this is your first time here, welcome. My goal is simple, to bring harmony and balance to this world, starting with the family. There is so much more to life than the 9 to 5, and this show is designed to bring you inspiration, motivation, and practical solutions to bring balance and joy back to your life. Work-life balance is not a myth, it's a choice. Themes on this show range widely between faith, family rhythms, work, and lifestyle philosophies. You will also hear burning ladder essays submitted by our community of friends and listeners who ditch the rat race, beat burnout to pursue a more balanced and purposeful life. My hope is that this show and the stories shared will provide encouragement, motivation, and will provide some ideas that will be valuable to you on your journey to work-life freedom. So let's dive into today's episode. A couple weeks ago, I caught myself freaking out due to having an overloaded schedule that resulted in an overloaded to-do list. 20-plus hours of meetings over 3 days left me in a fog and frustrated. Overwhelmed, not only mentally, but my emotional bandwidth was also tapped out. I personally need time to process and to plan. That is my mantra for life, personally and professionally. I am a slow processor. I love to take my time to have deep thoughts. Always have, always will be. Especially during this season of my life, I can relate more to a sailboat than I do a speedboat. The fast lane is no longer my lane. I have other lanes that I have to care for in my life, like my health, my family, and my faith. Being slow in my thinking used to be a source of shame. Hello, inner critic, I see you. But now I realize that slow is not a bad word. My type of slow is being critical of a moment to find meaning or connection. Being mindlessly busy or overscheduled typically derails my ability to do what I like to do best, process deep thoughts and connect the dots. This is my work. But how many people are being impacted by not having the time to think? What deep thinkers are stuck in meetings all day long with no time to create, write, or solve problems? What deep thinkers have drifted off to sea and lost their identity because of the inability to do what they do best? We all drift, and at some point, we must get back to the port to unpack our ships. Getting there requires not only knowing how you think, but building the time to think. Maybe this is you. Perhaps you are a deep thinker caught in a chaotic ocean without a life jacket, and you're sending out SOS signals. Have you drifted away from what organically lights you up, or a natural ability to think? My encouragement is to use this message you're taking in right now as a clue, a life jacket, or maybe even a ship passing by to pick you up so you can unpack who you are. You just need time to think. Do you know yourself at the core? How do you think? Why do you think what you think? Do you use this ability for the good of others at home and in the workplace? How we answer these questions will all look different, but it matters a lot in our quest for a fulfilling life. I recently heard about the book, The Extended Mind by Annie Murphy Paul, which is about thinking outside the brain. Paul examines the lives of leaders, artists, and successful professionals on how they think. Her research is for all types of thinkers, but it beautifully connects to the process of deep thinking. Healthy deep thinkers have brains that are shaped by their movement. Paul writes that our society has passive attention, but powerful thinkers are intimately connected to their interoception system, the SOS for the body. As mentioned in the book as the somatic rudder, deep thinkers know what makes them tick, what makes them nervous, and what makes their hands cold or clammy. Their interactions and responses to their environment are an extension of the brain. Paul explains that successful thinkers think in concentric circles, sort of like a whole body experience. To think sharper and to become more powerful in our work, we must think in 3 modes: movement, nature, and our peers. When we think harmoniously in all 3 modes, we can unlock something deeper and richer. Essentially, we need connection. We need relationships. We need deep thinkers in every room, but we also need the time to do this well. Being behind a computer all day long is no longer a model of success and has its limitations. To unlock potential and the cycle of worry and even overcome burnout, we must integrate nature and community back into our lives. Austin Kleon, who wrote the book Still Like an Artist, talks about the loop, the dance, and the tension of our thoughts. For artists, uncertainty is the key to creativity. Being curious is key. In an interview on the 1,000 Hours Outside podcast, Kleon states that we must release outcome as artists and find joy in the next stroke, the next word, and the next solution to whatever we're working on. We have to look at the world to draw the world. This advice is for deep thinkers, quick thinkers, and overthinkers. Another deep thinker is Cal Newport. He is famously known for his books and podcasts that support the deep life. To have a deep life, we have to start with our deep thoughts, which is time to think. Newport's model is also one that naturally promotes space for deep thinkers. He proclaims that to get to the root of our purposes, it has to start with our values. What do you care about the most? What are your biggest interests? Interrogate the why behind these thoughts and then redesign your calendar and your life based on these values. He believes in excellence, but argues that we must lose the pressure of man-made time constructs of success by embracing slow productivity in what we were born to do. Based on these deep thinking experts, are our schedules aligned to promote this type of lifestyle? Newport, Kleon, and Paul are all deep thinkers with similar approaches to a fulfilling life. Community, nature, and most importantly, the time to process. Before I conclude, let's take a quick break. This episode is brought to you by Own Your 5 to 9, an organization committed to freeing families of the rat race and burnout. Every organization has a leader, mission, and a set of values that drives the organization. But this is commonly missed in the most important organization in the world, the family. An organization has one mission for how it will impact the world. Why not the family? An organization goes into strategic planning to align its values, mission, and projects. Why not the family? Whose Home, a strategic planning guide for families, is a workbook and a tool needed in all households. Whose Home takes a strategic planning approach with 10 guided exercises to define your core family values, family mission, and tools to operationalize how your family does life together. If your family is facing big decisions, whose home is for you? If you're considering a career pivot, whose home is for you? If you desire more intentionality and harmony in your home, whose home is for you? Create a healthy culture, not a hustle culture, at home. Visit ownyour5to9.com to claim your copy today. Deep thinkers are considered careful thinkers, maybe even critical thinkers. Deep thinkers must measure everything figuratively and literally. They are also the ones reading the room for every other personality type to try to connect these differences in a way that keeps the peace. Most deep thinkers are writers, therapists, counselors, safety cops, compliance officers, helicopter parents, or just the risk-averse person. We all know one, or we are the one. They are masters at reading the room. Their emotional intelligence is off the charts to read people's energy and the motives behind every word. These professions are so necessary for the population at large, but they also suffer from stinky thinking because fear can take over from their natural ability to overmeasure. When deep thinkers are asked to make a decision, they ponder, to the point of annoyance for anyone who is with them. Deep thinkers have inner critics, just like their improv family members, but their thinking is typically called overthinking. Yes, deep thinkers go over the deep end. They worry and ruminate until the cows come home. They are often paralyzed with fear. So how do they get off this treadmill and get out of their own head? The simple answer is time alone. But deep thinkers don't need all the time in the world. Too much time can lead to overthinking. As mentioned earlier, to pursue their curiosity, they must dance between the various tensions, spaces, and seasons. Deep thinkers can process quickly, but it's not the norm. The seasons where they need to go beyond a natural pace, it tires them out, and their recovery takes much more time as they get older. That makes me wonder, how many people are suffering, living in overwhelm or in burnout? And the solution can be right in between their ears, but they just haven't built the boundaries for their time. If you're an overthinker, don't let shame or other dark corners of your world shame you. Find a confidant, a coach, or a dear friend to lean into to share your worries. Like the quick thinkers, embrace practice and good boundaries with your time to do what you do best. I would like to land the plane, or as my wife would say, get to the point, with 5 disciplines to exercise deep thoughts without overthinking. The acronym spells ARROW, and it takes you in the right direction and towards the bullseye of your life. ARROW stands for assess, rest, reflect, order, and walk. Let's take a look at each one. Assess. Look inside yourself to know who you really are and how you're wired. Go deep. Take a personality test or ask several friends. Even if you are prone to overthink, it's imperative to intimately know your processor, your gifts, and your natural ability for any room you walk into. This knowledge just may stop the cycle of overthinking. Rest. Why do we sleep? It's to detox. Every system in our body has a function to cleanse and to heal when we are asleep. This includes our brains. It's no coincidence that our perspectives change every morning. It's a new day. What was worrying us last night has a new light when we wake up in the morning. Protect your sleep and do this religiously. Attack the quality of your sleep, fix it, and find rhythms that sets up the entire household for success. Reflect. Journaling is such a powerful act. It's like pulling out a mirror. So is reading the Bible and imagining yourself in any of the scenes. It's powerful to reflect in our writing and our reading. It puts us in a different mental environment to see where we can better our walk, our attitudes, and our hearts. Order. Reorganizing your life starts with reorganizing your day. Now that you have a glimpse into how you operate and what makes you passionate and how you're able to process problems, let's reorder your calendar. How you spend your days is how you spend your life. And the W is for walk. This also requires another W, which is white space. Being stuck in front of a computer all day is definitely not healthy. Are you stuck? Go for a walk. Are you worried? Go for a walk. Are you overwhelmed with meetings? Cancel or move them and then go for a walk. Don't push through overwhelm without stopping first. Stop. Get into the outdoors and reset with a 10-minute walk around the block and watch the puzzle pieces come into alignment. Trust me, it works. And a bonus tip, unplug. Our world is noisy and it comes from all different directions, and when we are constantly taking in the inputs, it's difficult to go deep on one single thought. We can project manage and time manage our task all day long, but for deep thinkers, there's a clock necessary for their emotional tanks. When that tank is empty, leave them alone. Respect their boundaries. Let them think. Encourage them to recalibrate with a walk or an activity that nurtures their soul. If you are the deep thinker, the overthinker in the room, slow down. Don't overdo it, nor don't underdo it. You aren't supposed to be an improv thinker, but you can appreciate the sweet spot, the dance between the fast and the slow to make the next right decision. Appreciate the value of getting your thoughts out of your head in the timing that aligns with your pace of life. Be well and think well. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to the Work Life You by OSIS podcast, part of the Work Life resources created by Own Your 5 to 9. I hope that you have found encouragement and a few ideas to strengthen your journey to purpose, freedom, and balance. Have you overcome burnout and found a new way of life? Millions around the globe are still at the risk of burnout and losing it all, and your story may be the one that sparks not only a dream, but action. Visit ownyour5to9.com for more information and to submit your story. While you're there, join the Work Life You by OSIS newsletter and receive additional resources weekly right to your inbox. If you enjoy this podcast, take time to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Share it with a friend or a loved one. Remember, the most important organization in the world is the family. Let's do our part to strengthen it. Thank you for listening.